Imagine being one day away from your 32nd birthday. You have a wife, you have children waiting for you at home. You're simply covering a shift for another officer. And before that night is over, you're dead. This is the story of Officer Bill Toney and the man who killed him, Benjamin Ritchie. And unlike many murder cases, this one unfolded in real time. On September 29th, 2000, police in Beech Grove, Indiana spotted a stolen van. The driver behind the wheel was 20-year-old Benjamin Ritchie, a repeat offender who was already on probation at the time. What should have been a routine arrest quickly turned into a dangerous pursuit. As officers attempted to stop the vehicle, Ritchie fled. A chase began. Eventually, Ritchie abandoned the van and took off on foot. Officer Bill Toney pursued him. What happened next would change multiple families forever. According to prosecutors, as Officer Toney chased Ritchie through a residential area, Ritchie pulled out a 9mm Glock handgun and opened fire. One of the rounds struck Officer Toney. The officer collapsed, and he would never make it home. Think about how terrifying that moment must have been. An officer doing his job, a suspect desperate to avoid going back to prison. Split-second decision, and suddenly a husband, a father, and a police officer is mortally wounded in the street. Officer Toney wasn't hunting a serial killer. He wasn't responding to a hostage situation. He was trying to arrest a man driving a stolen vehicle. Yes, that routine encounter ended up with a police officer losing his life. And what makes this case especially heartbreaking is that Bill Toney wasn't even supposed to be there. Reports later revealed he had been filling in for another officer's shift. Had circumstances been slightly different, someone else may have responded that night. For Toney's family, that reality would haunt them forever. A normal workday became the last day of his life. As investigators pieced together what happened, the evidence pointed directly to Benjamin Ritchie. He was arrested, he was charged, and eventually convicted of murder. The jury sentenced him to death, but the story didn't end there. Over the next 2 decades, Benjamin Ritchie became the center of a national debate. Not because people questioned whether he shot Officer Toney. The shooting itself was not seriously disputed. Instead, the debate focused on who Benjamin Ritchie was. His attorneys describe a childhood filled with abandonment, instability, substance exposure before birth, and significant cognitive challenges. They argued that the young man who killed Officer Toney had been shaped by circumstances most people could never imagine. Supporters of clemency claimed he had changed dramatically during his years in prison. Some prison staff even described him as remorseful and transformed from the reckless 20-year-old who committed the crime. But for Officer Toney's family, one fact never changed. Bill Toney was still dead. His children still grew up without their father, his wife still lost her husband, and no amount of rehabilitation could undo that. As execution day approached in 2025, the case once again made headlines. The Indiana Parole Board considered clemency. Appeals were filed, arguments were made, but ultimately, the execution moved forward. On May 20th, 2025, Benjamin Ritchie was executed by lethal injection at Indiana State Prison. It was only Indiana's second execution in roughly 15 years. And as